Look closely at the modern world, and you will notice something disturbing. We are living in the most comfortable era in human history. Food is instant. Information is instant. Pleasure is instant. Everything is easier than ever before. And yet, people have never been more fragile. A delayed flight ruins their entire day. A harsh word destroys their mood. A small loss feels like a personal tragedy. And suddenly, they collapse. They explode with anger. They drown in anxiety. They complain. They blame. They adopt the identity of a victim. And worst of all, they genuinely believe the world is against them. We are told that weakness is physical. Lack of strength, lack of money, lack of resources. But the Stoic philosophers saw something far more dangerous. Weakness is not physical. Weakness is psychological. It is a failure of the mind, a broken internal system. Because human suffering does not come from the outside world. It comes from within. A weak mind chases illusions. It tries to control the uncontrollable. And in doing so, it hands over its freedom to chaos. To understand weakness, you must first understand what the weak mind values. Marcus Aurelius dealt with difficult, ungrateful, unstable people every single day. He did not call them evil. He diagnosed them. He said their behavior comes from ignorance. Ignorance of what is truly good and what is truly bad. Every human being wants happiness. That part is universal. But most people make a fatal mistake. They believe happiness comes from external things: money, status, reputation, power, pleasure. And this belief poisons everything. Because the moment your happiness depends on something external, you become dependent. If your happiness depends on money, you fear losing it. If it depends on reputation, you fear criticism. If it depends on status, you fear failure. The weak mind attaches itself to fragile things and then wonders why it feels fragile. The Stoics saw these external things differently. They called them indifferent, not good, not bad, just tools. They can be used wisely or foolishly. The only true good is virtue, your character, your integrity, your ability to think clearly. A person with strong character cannot be harmed in what truly matters. But the weak mind does not understand this. It builds its identity on unstable ground, and then acts surprised when everything keeps collapsing. The second pillar of weakness is the illusion of control. Watch how people live. They try to control everything: the weather, the economy, traffic, other people, opinions, reputation. They fight reality itself, and reality never loses. So what happens? Frustration, anger, helplessness. This is where the Stoics drew a brutal line. Some things are within your control, and some things are not. Your thoughts, your actions, your choices, these belong to you. Everything else does not. The weak mind mixes these categories. It obsesses over what it cannot control and ignores what it can. It complains, blames, avoids responsibility. The strong mind does the opposite. It accepts reality and takes full responsibility for its response. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond. And that is where your power begins. Another reason people remain weak is emotional slavery. Watch closely. An insult, and they explode. A challenge, and they panic. A temptation, and they give in instantly. The Stoics had a word for this: passions, not emotions, but uncontrolled impulses that override reason. Fear, anger, desire, anxiety. These are not just feelings. They are forces that control you if you let them. The philosopher Cleanthes described this perfectly. He said an undisciplined person is like a dog tied to a moving cart. The cart represents fate. Life moves forward, whether you like it or not. You have two options: walk alongside it or resist. But if you resist, you will be dragged. Dragged by fear, dragged by anger, dragged by desire. And this is exactly how most people live. Not acting, reacting, not choosing, being pulled. Why does this happen? Because they believe every thought they have. Something happens, and instantly the mind says, "This is terrible. I've been harmed. My life is ruined." And they accept it without question. But Marcus Aurelius understood something most people never realize. External events cannot touch your mind. They have no access to it. They cannot create your judgments. Only you can do that. This means something very uncomfortable. Your suffering is created by your interpretation, not the event itself. The event is neutral. Your story creates the pain. And when you remove the story, something interesting happens. The suffering weakens. The Stoics trained this ability daily. They stripped events down to their raw form. An insult becomes sound. A loss becomes a change. A problem becomes a situation. No drama, no exaggeration, just reality. And when you see reality clearly, your mind becomes stable. And when your mind becomes stable, you become dangerous. But there is one more reason modern people are so weak. Comfort. We live in a world designed to remove discomfort. Everything is fast, easy, convenient, and this creates a hidden problem. The more comfort you depend on, the weaker you become, because now you need it, and the moment it disappears, you panic. This is why the Stoics did something unusual. They practiced discomfort, cold, hunger, simplicity, not to suffer, but to train, to prove something to themselves. I can survive without this, because once you know that, fear disappears. And when fear disappears, freedom begins. They also practiced something even more powerful: negative visualization. They imagined losing everything, not to become pessimistic, but to become grounded, grateful, prepared, because the weak mind clings to everything tightly and breaks when it loses it. The strong mind holds everything lightly, like sand. If it slips away, it does not collapse, it adapts. The psychology of weakness is not permanent. It is learned. It is a pattern, a set of habits, a way of thinking. And anything learned can be unlearned. You do not have to be dragged through life. You can cut the leash. You can build what the Stoics called the inner citadel, a fortress inside your mind, a place where external chaos cannot enter. But this requires discipline. You must understand what you control and what you do not. You must question your thoughts. You must stop reacting automatically. And you must accept reality as it is. This is amor fati, the love of fate. Not passive acceptance, but alignment with reality. Because the truth is simple. The world will always be unpredictable, unfair, chaotic, but your mind does not have to be. Reclaim control. Strip away illusion. And turn your mind from fragile glass into an unbreakable fortress. Master your mind, and you will never be weak again.